YouTube. Born to be Wild, NE here, and as always, NE stands for Nebraska Go Big Red Yay Huskers. It is Tuesday the 26th of April in the year 2022, and I just completed, for the first time in my life, a complete tire change on the motorcycle. So I'm out for a quick ride to do some scrubbing of the new shoes, and boy, have I completely forgotten how wonderful a new pair of shoes feels on a motorcycle. Holy smokes. She just maneuvers so easily. Now mind you, I got my money's worth out of my old tires. They were needing to be replaced. They were pretty flat, because most of my riding, unfortunately, is pretty straight ahead. So there's a couple things, actually three things I want to check, I think. I want to check my speedometer against my speed from my GPS and make sure I didn't mess anything up with the speed sensor or the speed sensor plate on either the front or back wheels. I want to get up to some speed and check to see if my balancing worked the way it's supposed to, or if I get any vibration. On the back wheel, I actually ended up removing 3 of the 5 weights that the dealership had, the service person had put on there the last time a tire was placed on the wheel. And the third thing, I guess, is I want to check that all my nuts and bolts got put on tightly, and after a ride are still snug as a bug in a rug. It's something between 70 and 72 here, late afternoon. It's 4:19 or so. Being the first time, I struggled especially with the rear wheel. When I took the wheel off, the hub with the rubber dampeners inside the piece that connects the wheel to the drive housing with the gears, the 2 metal gears have to mesh with each other when you put it back on. That fell out, and I had to, it didn't fall out, those rubber dampeners started falling out and kept me from getting the wheel out. Oh my gosh, that was a headache. I finally ended up having to just finagle all 6 of those things out so I could take the wheel off. bike is about 2 miles per hour more than the GPS. So, you know, sure, it was a lot of work breaking the beads, then getting the tire off the rim, the wheel. And then on the front tire, when I was inflating it, I didn't hear any pops like they say you're supposed to when the beads set. And that was the first tire I did. So I filled it to pressure and I put it back on the bike and it held. The beads were set. I heard a couple what I would describe as poofs, but not loud and not anything like, you know, a pop, or as Ari Henning said, a gunshot. Nothing like that. On the back tire, I did hear one pop, but it wasn't terribly loud, and it seems to be set and holding also, so I don't think I have to worry about the beads not being set and holding air. So, you know, approaching 70, it feels kind of good. DIY'd the complete tire change, front and back. Now I'm going 70, the speed limit 70 on this, and I don't feel any crazy vibrations. Good thing, because I sure as heck don't want to do that rear tire removal and reinstall again. Front tire wouldn't be so bad, but that rear is a booger, because you got to get those gears meshed, and then you got to hold the tire up, got to get the brake caliper over the rotor, and then you got to get a washer between the brake caliper and the swing arm, and there's just not a whole lot of space, because the axle's got to go through the swing arm, then the washer, then the brake caliper, then the wheel, and then the drive shaft on the other side, or the drive unit on the other side. And when you tighten it all up, that draws those mesh gears together and makes that seal tight around there so dirt and dust can't get in there. I did clean the axle and re-greased it. Never done that before, so I tried to use grease sparingly. I think that's what I've seen. You don't want to use too much. So the entire axle was coated, but not, you know, with lots of excess. So hoping I did that well. Oh my gosh, even on a sweeper, the short sweeper, the bike just turns over. Whee, doggy. So I've got two big trips that I want to do this year. One in the next month or so. My brother, who used to live in the Miami area, has moved to Georgia, northern Georgia. So I want to go visit him and ride together for Tennessee, North Carolina, northern Georgia, maybe over into northern Alabama a little bit. Take 2 or 3 days each way riding down there, and then maybe a week or so riding together. I think we'd try to get up and do the Dragon and the Charahola. he's got a lot of routes he's preparing for us. Lots of good riding in those mountains and those small, I guess, the foothills as the Blue Ridge and Appalachians come down through northern Georgia and peter out in northern Alabama, I think, if I understand the topology correctly. So, the second big trip will not be to Alaska this year. I have a big high school reunion at the end of June. And while I haven't gone to very many of them, this is 50, so I want to go to this one. High school graduating class of 54. It's a small high school, small town, Nebraska. And 54 was large for that school. So there's people coming from all over the country, and it'll be good to see everybody. But that's kind of right in the peak period where I want to be on an Alaska trip. So I made the decision, because it is number 50, to go to the high school reunion. And thus, I've planned an alternative trip, and I'll put the route plan here. As you can see, I hightail it to the Great Sand Dunes National Park in southeastern Colorado, and I'll do Mesa Verde and Canyons of the Ancients, head down to Monument Valley, go to Sedona where I have some friends, some longtime friends, and I'll stay 2, 3, 4 nights with them. Go up to the south rim of the Grand Canyon, the north rim of the Grand Canyon, Zion, Bryce Canyon, Arches, Canyonlands, Black Canyon of the Gunnison, $1 Million Highway, and from there kind of head home between Colorado and eastern Nebraska. Well, there are things to see, but this would be a 31-day trip. Mostly tent camping, but with hotel stays, and of course staying with my friends sprinkled throughout there. So every few days I get a night in a hotel, able to do laundry and clean myself up good. If I'm having trouble sleeping in the tent, which I don't usually do, but if I do, I'll get a night or two in a hotel. Except to get there and coming back, I'm not looking at putting on mega days. I'm going to spend my time, maybe 250 miles a day. Maybe a few of them are maybe 280 or 290. But I want to allow myself time to stop and see things. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm staying 2 nights in certain locations. And in one location, staying 3 nights because there's so many things to see there. To give me non-transit days at those locations to explore, like 2 nights at the South Rim and 2 nights at the North Rim and 2 nights in Zion and 3 nights in the Moab area. So I'll have 2 full days, one to do Arches and one to do Canyonlands. So I should be weaving, shouldn't I, to kind of scrub the tires a little bit off center line. These are Michelin Anarchy 3s, which I think are 80/20 if I remember right. Oh, slow down a little bit, John. pushed the previous set, I did get a lot of miles on them. And I'm hoping this set will make it through the 2022 season. I'm not totally convinced of that yet. That big trip out west will be something like 4,000 miles. Going to northern Georgia, that trip would be 2,500. And then I want to do short camping trips around Nebraska. And my day rides. You know, long days out into the sandhills, 400 miles, 500 miles, whatever they might be. So, we shall see. My trip out west will be probably the last half of September, the first half of October. I'm not looking forward to being in the heat of the Southwest, in the heat of summer or early fall. But on the other hand, you know, you can't, if you're going to go up in mountain passes and stuff, you can't be going there too late, or you risk pretty cold temps at night, maybe even some snow or ice. Of course, if it was bad weather, bad roads, I would just reroute. And my sleeping system and tent, I've slept in 36 degree Fahrenheit temps and absolutely no problem. So I think I could go lower if I had to. Well, things feel firmly planted. I was successful at not touching the brake pad or the brake lever while the calipers were off the rotors, so that was a good thing. I had that top of mind for sure. Introducing air into the brake lines would not be a good thing. And I can see how easy it would be to replace the brake pads. So, you know, I think these pads will get me through a good chunk of the year. Maybe before I do that big fall tour, I'd put on new brake pads. It's a good day. A little windy, but that's typical. Tomorrow it's going to be windier, but it's going to be a high of 80. So I really would like to go for a long day. It's only supposed to get down to 55 or 58 tonight, at least in Lincoln. So that means you can get off fairly early in the morning. And I'll check the weather out in the Panhandle for tomorrow. But tomorrow might be a long day, which I love, riding through the Panhandle. It just takes, I said Panhandle, I meant the sand hills. But I think, it's hard work. I'm just using manual tire irons and Windex. But the more you know the technique, I think the easier it will come. Both new tires were sitting out in the sun for quite a long time before they were to be mounted on the wheel. am I? I gotta keep doing this. I don't know how serious that residue is that's left from the molding process, but it's an easy thing to do. Dunbar, little town of Dunbar.
Get your motor running.